I'm Jody Avergan. Have you heard of Blue Apron? Well, now you have. Blue Apron's mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone. The country's #1 fresh ingredient and recipe service, fresh, high-quality ingredients make the difference, so it's important to know where your food comes from. Plus, it's affordable, easy, and full of surprises. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals for free with free shipping. You will love how good it tastes and feels to create home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so don't wait. Go to blueapron.com/30 for 30.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio. That's 98.7 FM, New York City. That's 710 ESPN LA, and of course, nationwide over the airwaves of ESPN Radio. Sirius XM style, Channel 80. Number to call up, as always, is 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. Lots of stuff to get into today. Lots of stuff in the world of football, lots of stuff in the world of basketball. But you know where we got to go first? We got to go baseball. We got to go baseball. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you right now, I believe that the New York Yankees can win it all. I believe the New York Yankees can win it all at the very least. At the very least. If not win it all, meet the Dodgers for the World Series. Now, obviously, that's engaging in a bit of hyperbole to some degree in some people's eyes when you consider the New York Yankees was a wild card team. They finished 91-71 when you consider the fact that they got to go up against arguably the best team in baseball in the Cleveland Indians. They certainly have their work cut out for them tonight. Come out for them in the next series. No doubt about it. And I understand it, and I'm not poo-pooing it. I'm not dismissing it. I'm not saying, oh, no. The Cleveland Indians are absolutely nothing to worry about. I'm not saying that. What I am saying to you, however, is that the Baby Bombers, a.k.a. the Bronx Bombers, are in full effect with one of the worst performances by a pitcher, one of the worst in Major League Baseball playoff history. The Yankees still overcame. Luis Severino, first inning exit. Couldn't get even 2 outs. Could get 2 outs. Got smacked around, gave up a 3-run shot, was being smacked around, and Joe Girardi had to get him up out of there. So what do the relievers do? What does Green do? What does Robertson do? What does Conley do? What does Chapman do? How about record the final 26 outs of this game? Severino gives up 4 hits, 3 earned runs. Couldn't strike out a damn soul, plus gave up 2 home runs. 2 of them. We got to pay attention to that. But then Green comes in. He pitches 2 innings, strikes out 4, only gives up 1 hit, 1 run. What does Robertson do? 3.1 innings, 3 1/3. Just 3 hits, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, no runs. Conley, what does he do? 2 1/3 innings. Didn't give up anything either. No hits, no runs. And, of course, Chapman, 1, 2, 3. Out of there. This is what wins World Series. This is how you win championships, ladies and gentlemen. You win championships when you've got somebody like this, when you got a staff like this. And I'm not talking about starting rotation. Because the irony in all of this is that we're sitting here this morning, and we're talking about the New York Yankees having a better staff, not just starters, a staff. Starters and relievers. A staff better than the New York Mets. Remember all that noise we made about for years? Syndergaard and Harvey and Wheeler and Matz and DeGrom. They ain't talking about them. And it ain't just because they're not in the playoffs. They don't have no bullpen like this. I'm not sure Cleveland has a bullpen like this. I don't think the Red Sox have a bullpen like this. And in the National League, do the Dodgers? Do the Nationals? Do the Diamondbacks or the Rockies? Do the Cubs? I'm not so sure. And that's what I'm looking at right now. Now, obviously, you're down 3-0. I was nervous as hell. Severino looked like straight garbage, looked in over his head, just 23 years of age in his first postseason appearance. We get it. We understand it. It was wrong to expect it was wrong to expect him to be what he was during the regular season. I get that. The flip side to it, however, is that, damn it, is it wrong to expect him to be better than what he was? Severino pitched a third of an inning. That's it. A third of an inning. Gave up 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 home runs. His ERA was 81, for Christ's sakes. I mean, horrible. Just a horrible performance on his part. But not only did his staff come through, how about the baby Bombers? How about Gregorius and that 3-1 shot and the flipping of the bat and running around the bases and having that, being that energizer bunny, having the adrenaline flow through his body, jumping up and elbow bumping everybody. How about him? How about Gardner starting off the game to work the count against Santana, which our MLB analyst for ESPN, Aaron Boone, so adroitly pointed out? How about that? How about Sanchez with his double and finishing 2 for 4 in an evening? How about that? How about Gardner's blast? How about Aaron Judge and that 2-run blast that he had? These are people, ladies and gentlemen, that have never played in the postseason. Sanchez, Severino, Judge, they haven't been in the postseason. They're babies at this. And if you're Gregorius, is there a tougher job? Is there a tougher job than to be the successor to Derek Jeter? Does it get any tougher? I don't think it does. But they answered the bell. And they've got me believing. Because guess what? If the Yankees could perform under that kind of pressure, being the better team than the Minnesota Twins, knowing everybody expected them to win, understanding that nobody gave a damn about the Minnesota Twins, and nobody cared to see them outside of Minnesota, knowing all of that, and the Yankees still showing up with all of that pressure and handling their business the way they handled their business. Aren't they the cardiac kids playing with house money right now? Isn't it a situation where they're literally playing with house money, having absolutely positively nothing to worry about? There's no pressure on the Yankees now. What pressure is there? Who expects them to beat the Indians with Kluber and the crew, and as loaded as they are, who beat the Yankees handily in their meetings this year? Who expects the Cleveland Indians to lose this series to the New York Yankees? You're playing with house money. All the expectations are on the shoulders of the Indians. All the pressure's on them. They won the World Series last year. They were up 3-2. They had the Cubs in the hole, and suddenly they collapsed. Actually, it was 3-1. And they had the Cubs in the hole and lost it. Lost it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are the New York Yankees, how can it get any better than this? It doesn't get any better than this. You can't ask for it any better than this. You're playing with house money. Cleveland Indians are considered the best team in all of baseball, even with the Dodgers having won 2 more games than them during this past season. The bottom line is they didn't go in a 16 for 17 game losing streak like the Dodgers did. I mean, if you look at this staff, you've got Kluber. You've got Carrasco. That's 2 18-game winners. You've got Bauer, who's a 17-game winner. What's there to talk about here? 3 of their 5 starters got ERAs of 3 or lower. I mean, I'm just looking at Cleveland right now. They're loaded. What is there to think about? I'm just looking at it right now, man. This is getting pretty special. Lindor can play. Ramirez can play. Santana's got 23 homers. I mean, and Encarnacion's got 38 homers, 107 RBIs. Everybody's expecting the Indians to make noise and get back to the World Series and avenge what happened to them last year. Everybody's expecting it, damn it. And as a result, doesn't that put all the pressure on them? I think it does. I really, really do. They were up on the Chicago Cubs. and lost the damn World Series. I can't ignore that. That's the way I'm looking at it. As far as I'm concerned, that's the way everybody should be looking at it. The Yankees have absolutely, positively nothing to lose in all of this. And they got a monster crew that shows up and handles their business, and I love every bit of it. My dream scenario is that the New York Yankees face the Los Angeles Dodgers for the World Series. Who's going to rise to the occasion and get that done? Who's going to come up short? I have my thoughts. What are yours?
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Always watching the news while I'm doing the radio show, so I got about 6 TVs in here. I see this woman, Mary Lou Danley, tells brother, relax, we shouldn't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. Apparently she's the girlfriend of the guy, Stephen Baddock, that killed 58 people and injured over 500 more in that shooting in Las Vegas. She was in the Philippines at the time. Apparently at the time he transferred about $100,000 to her. Whatever. She got back from the Philippines. She's at the airport. The FBI was waiting for her. She's back in the U.S. right now for questioning. So keep our eyes on that. And hearts go out to all of those folks, loved ones, family members of of those lost. It's sickening. The other thing I want to mention is the crisis in Puerto Rico. What the hurricane caused, the crisis that the hurricane caused there, people without food and water and whatever. My heart goes out to all of them, and let's come together and see if we can do what we can to help those folks as well, along with Virgin Islands, St. Thomas, St. Croix. My family's from. Tim Duncan, thanks to him and so many others. Mello with the Puerto Rico and the things that he's doing, and just shows the heart and the conscience of folks within the sports world. It's a hell of a lot better than we give them credit for sometimes. Just wanted to make sure I mentioned that. 866-729-ESPN. It's 866-729-3776. Before I get into some football stuff, before I get into LaVar Ball being called the worst father in the history of sports and beyond, which I thought was excessive, and I'll touch on that a little bit later on in the show. Before I get into any of that, let's go to the phones about what we witnessed last night at Yankee Stadium and what we expect will go forward, will happen moving forward in Major League Baseball, in the American and the National League. Let's go to the phones. Nelson, you're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Nelson?
Hey, Stephen A. Before I make my sports comment, are your parents from Haiti?
No, my parents are from St. Thomas, Virgin Islands.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Do you think Odell Beckham should really see Aaron just as a positive role model as to how to be an athlete in New York City?
No, I don't. No, I don't. But that's not what you called about. We've got better things to discuss than Odell Beckham Jr. today. Get to your point, man. Oh, he didn't have that point. So he lied about what he wanted to call about. Okay, goodbye. Devin, you're live with Stephen A. What's going on, Dev?
Yeah, hey, Stephen A. First of all, man, love your show. I listen every day at work. I'm actually on the clock right now, so I'm going to make it quick for you. I got 2 for you today. I know how much you love your Yankees, and considering, that's the first thing you talked about yesterday, I know you're excited for this coming up series against my Indians. I just remember you writing off my Indians, which I didn't take too kindly. Actually,
first of all, you don't remember that. That's a lie. That's a lie. My preacher. Be quiet. What's the name of the damn show? Don't talk over me. Before the season began, I picked the Cubs to meet the Indians again for the World Series. What are you talking about?
Now, I do remember you saying that the Cubs will reach before the Indians would reach.
I don't care what you remember. I'm telling you it's fact. We've got it on tape. It's my show. I said the Cubs and the Indians would meet again. So how is that writing the Indians off if I had them going back to the World Series?
Well, what do you think about this year? Are we going to get back to the series, Stephen?
Well, I'm hopeful that you won't because I'm a diehard Yankees fan. And I know the Indians are the best team in baseball right now. And they should be favored to win to beat the Yankees. But I'm hopeful that they won't because nothing would please me more than to see the Yankees versus the Dodgers or the Yankees versus the Cubs. But the Indians are a hell of a team. Kluber may be the best pitcher in baseball, at least top two. And then him and Sale in Boston. And then you got a situation where you look at the Cubs and they could get in the way of the Dodgers because even though the Cubs came on and strong in the second half, they struggled a lot in the first half because Madden wanted to rest the players because they had such a long season last year and so much on their shoulders. Then we got to think about the Yankees and their youth and the fact that even though they're impressive, the reality is that we can't assume that the New York Yankees are going to be able to beat this Indian squad, who should be every bit as, if not more hungrier than anybody, considering how close they were to winning the World Series last year, and they weren't able to get it done.
Very close, sir, and we were banged up last year. We were missing arguably our best player from returning last year, and we were missing Carrasco, but we're back healthy and added better pieces to challenge.
Carrasco definitely is a big time. That's a big deal. That's a big deal with Carrasco. We'll see what happens with that. And Encarnacion has been balling. There's no doubt about that, but we'll see what happens. And Linders can't be ignored either. But great pitching neutralizes everything in baseball. Everything. And with the Yankees bullpen and having the ability to take guys out after a third of an inning and having your bullpen record 26 outs for you, I mean, damn. You pull off something like that, you can beat anybody. You can beat anybody.
Very true. Looking forward to seeing you guys' bullpen. I know your starters struggle, but your bullpen's one heck of a bullpen, no doubt. I had another one for you.
Hurry up.
Stephen A.
Go ahead.
If we could talk about the Eastern Conference. I know it's lackluster compared to the Western, but with all the moves, with the Kyrie trade, the Bucks being healthy finally, Miami finding their identity without Wade, Washington's backcourt. I mean, how do you see the Eastern Conference playing out this year?
I see it now, please. Stop it. Have a nice day. Because, Devin, here's why. There's no suspense there. We all know Cleveland's coming out of the East. How do you see the East falling out? First of all, Boston lost Isaiah and Crowder. And Avery Bradley, huge loss. And a big pickup for Detroit because Avery Bradley can play some defense, man. And he's not a bad player offensively either. So then you got that going on. Washington and Toronto are going to be playoff teams, but either will be home. They'll be home at the latest by the semifinals. At the latest. Okay, both of them. So now you got a situation where if you're Boston, you got Gordon Hayward, you got Kyrie, and Al Horford, but what else do you have? Marcus Smart is good. He ain't Avery Bradley, not to me. Not to me. Jaylen Brown, I like him a lot. I think he's going to make some noise. But I just don't know where their depth comes from. That's my issue with Boston. I think they're good, but I think they fall to Cleveland in 6, if not 5. That's the only suspense here for the Eastern Conference. Nothing else. Tom. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me. Tom, go ahead, buddy. What's up?
Hey, I had a quick question. I love your show. Please don't roast me on the radio if my question's not good.
Well, I am going to roast you if your question's not good, but go ahead.
My question is, you look at Aaron Judge, you look at Gary Sanchez, Aaron Hicks, you look at Tyler Austin, you look at all of them. Do you see this team being like a dynasty team for the next, 6 years?
Excuse me?
Like they can win. You think they can win the World Series 5 out of the next 7 with all these young rookies in?
Come on, man. You know what? You know why questions like that bother me? How many games in a regular season?
162.
162 games. Okay. Even when you're the best team, do you usually win in baseball?
Yes.
No. I've seen a pitcher or two shut down a roster. You and I both know it. And it may not have been the best team, but they had the pitching. This is baseball, man. You can't sit up there and predict that somebody's going to win 4 or 5 World Series over the next 7 years. Not only that, we ain't even taking into account money. Because are you going to want to pay all those guys? Then think about what we wanted to say about the Mets. You had DeGrom and Syndergaard and Wheeler and Matz and all of these boys. What happened to them? Fell off the wagon. 162 games with barely a day off for 6 months. That's a hard thing to sustain. So I can go a year and maybe the next year. What were we saying about the Cubs last year? Oh, man, they could win. They could win for years and years to come. Now they're back in the postseason. They could potentially repeat. Is anybody expecting them to? No, because we're already talking about the Indians being better. We're already talking about the Dodgers being better. So let's take it one at a time. Let's take it one at a time. Let's see what Judge and Sanchez and these boys do. We saw Severino. Yeah, it was nice to see Judge and Sanchez do what they do along with Gardner and Gregorius and the rest of the crew. But what happened to Severino, Tom? He got smacked around because he's 23 and he's young and he was in a bright lights. What are these boys going to do against Kluber? What are these boys going to do against the rest of Cleveland staff when crunch time arrives? We don't know. Kluber and Carrasco and Bauer and Tomlin and Salazar and those boys. What they going to do, Tom? Don't we have to wait and see because they're young? We don't know.
Steven.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Randy in Queens, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Randy.
Listen, I don't appreciate you talking about the Mets. We're already in the grave. Leave us alone, man. You guys are the ones that hype
my bad, Randy, my bad. My apologies. I'm sorry, Randy. What's the name of the show? There we go. You understand? When Randy in Queens has his own radio show, you can tell yourself what to do. On this show, I do what I do. Now go ahead and make your point.
Listen, the Mets are done. You shouldn't mention them no more.
Well, okay, I am if I want to. Do you have a Yankees point to make?
Stop drinking the Kool-Aid.
Good. Have a nice day. Such an intelligent call. I mean, you waited all of that time to tell me that. Randy, I'm so touched by your words. It's just so touching. So eloquent, so intuitive, so intellectual. I mean, I really learned something from you. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid. Wow. All that time you held just to say that. Congratulations.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it. You know, listen, I got to admit, I got to complain for a second. I expect better from my callers. I mean, damn it, what's the name of it? This is Stephen A. Smith Show. I got my opinions and everything else, but I expect y'all to have yours. I expect you to make sense. And I don't expect you to be calling up here and wasting your time waiting to get on the air with me, only to sound like a damn buffoon once you get through the lines. So I'm going to challenge the callers. Look, I work. I got multiple jobs. But I bring it, and I expect my callers to bring it too, because y'all are an extension of me. This ain't just my show. Yes, it's my name on it. I'm the ringleader, but it's about us. So the you callers out there, because my listeners are sensational and they are who they are, but the people who actually call in, step your game up. Or I'm a hang up. Don't make me get Joe Madison on y'all. He takes that to another level. And then, I mean, it's so bad with him. They got a cup or whatever it is where you put $1 into the jar every time he cusses. This is like a cash register. Maybe I need to do something like that. Jack, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hello, Stephen.
What's up?
I got a question for you. Throughout this season, Aaron Judge, he's been very consistent, but sometimes he'll get like a streak where he doesn't really hit that much. I want to know how you feel about him, actually getting a nice stride through the playoffs and continue on his momentum from last night's game.
Well, listen, in terms of do I believe will it continue?
Like, how do you think the rest of the playoffs will play out for him?
Well, listen, I don't know. This is the thing. I will tell you this. Here's what I will tell you. When I think about Aaron Judge, right? What I'm most impressed by was his first playoff game, his first postseason game. And he was 2 for 4 with a home run, with a 2-run shot. Now, the biggest shot was Gregorius, tying that game up, because that changed everything. After being in the 3-0 hole and coming out right in the same inning and smacking that 3-1 blast the way that he did, I just loved it. And Santana's slider wasn't there all night, as Aaron Boone pointed out, but Severino didn't have anything working. Looked completely in over his head. Look, it's one thing to do this against the Minnesota Twins, Jack. What you gonna do against Kluber and Carrasco and Tomlin and the Indians, man? That's a different beast. You know what I'm saying?
I got you. I hear you.
That's my concern. That's my concern. That's what I'm worried about as we speak. So we'll see what happens. I appreciate the call. Kyle, you're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Kyle? How are you?
Hey, what's up, Stephen? How you doing?
I'm good. Talk to me.
First, I just wanted to say I love all your rants about New York. I'm out here in school in the Midwest, and I always preach out here, so thank you for doing it. I was just wondering, with the Yankees having such a good bullpen, and I think that's the one superior thing that we have over the Indians.
Okay.
How many runs do you think that we got to put up, by the sixth inning to ensure that we're gonna go through and
you know
beat
what? You know
the
what?
Indians?
To me, that's the wrong question. How many runs do you have to hold Cleveland to? That's the question. It's not about how many runs you got to put up. It's about how many runs you got to hold them to. Because, you see, what I'm saying to you is this. How the Yankees exploded for those 7 runs, you get in a hole like that against Cleveland, you're in a world of trouble. You're in a world of trouble. You got to limit their offense more than generate more of your own. That's what I believe about the Yankees against Cleveland, because I don't believe that Cleveland is going to struggle the way Santana did yesterday. I don't believe it.
You don't think about how hot our bats are doing right now, though?
I don't think you're going to be able to do that against Cleveland. No. I think I could see the Yankees scoring 4 or 5 runs, but I don't see the Yankees scoring 8. Not consistently. Not against that staff. I don't see it. Not against Francona managing against them. I don't see it. I don't. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see that.
Them to 6?
Excuse me?
You don't see us holding them to like 6 runs per game, like less than that.
I don't know. How can you make that claim? Who's going to do it? Tanaka?
He's been cooking. Well, Tanaka had a great outing that last showing.
Okay.
I also think, and then our bullpen is so good.
No, the bullpen. The Yankees. Listen, we've been talking the last half hour about the Yankees bullpen. We get all of that. What I'm saying to you is this. It's not about how many runs the Yankees score. It's about how many runs you can hold the Indians down to. That's my concern. My concern is that Encarnacion and the crew, they're going to find a way to put up numbers.
Feel that?
And that's with him and Lindo and those boys, I think they'll find a way. But I got to go, Kyle. I appreciate the call. 866-729-ESPN. Back with more of your calls in a minute. We'll continue talking about this, whether or not the Yankees going to meet the Dodgers in the World Series. We'll continue to talk about that. We got to get into LaVar Ball being called the worst daddy in the history of sports by USA Today. We'll talk about that as well. Plus, we'll get into some NFL items I need to discuss, and along with an NBA item that I cannot avoid any longer. It is necessary to talk about this. I'll allude to I'll bring up what I'm talking about in the minutes to come. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Give Stephen A. piece of your mind.
He is sorry.
Call him weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
I mean, just trash.
At 866-729-3776.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
I'll get into one of the NBA stories that I want to talk about in a little bit. But I wanted to touch on this story that was in today's USA Today, written by a writer that we should all respect, who does good work for USA Today. Her name, I don't know if she's a Miss or Mrs., but it's Nancy Amore. The title of the article reads, "It's official, Ball is worst sports parent." Now, writers don't write the headlines, so let's not blame her for that. But if you read a column, let me just read and skim through it a little bit. Until now, Ball has been a caricature with his outlandish claims and delusional view of his and his son's talents, the basketball equivalent of a Kardashian. With his announcement Monday that he is pulling youngest son LaMelo out of high school so he can make him, quote, the best basketball player ever, end quote, Ball crossed into troubling territory. These are children he's raising, not commodities, and the ramifications are huge when a parent forgets there's a difference. She brings up comparing him to Marv Marinovich, the father of Todd Marinovich, who was an NFL bust due to drug problems and what have you, and talked about how Marinovich's regimented training program began when his son was still an infant, and he brought in specialists to hone Todd's skills. Everything Todd ate was monitored, no refined sugars, nitrates, food colorings, or fast food, and there were no days off. This is who she's comparing LaVar Ball to. She goes on to say, whether he and his son recognize it, pulling him out of school robs LaMelo of an important piece of his adolescence. LaMelo told ESPN that leaving school won't matter because he'll see his buddies when they come to his house to train. But you don't spend your life surrounded by your buddies. And school is when you start learning how to navigate relationships with those who aren't. And while it's true that plenty of elite athletes are homeschooled, the, quote, everybody else is doing it, end quote, argument doesn't mean it's always right. Especially not with the reasons Ball is giving. She ends it by saying, so instead, Ball is going to teach LaMelo that he doesn't have to listen to coaches, that rules are for suckers, that quitting is an acceptable solution to a challenge or adversity, that not being allowed to take 50 shots a game could qualify as adversity is a whole issue in and of itself, that because basketball is the only measure of LaMelo and his brother's worth. The Ball kids are talented, no question, and their father has made them a nationwide brand. But there's more to life than basketball, and there's more to them than basketball. Staying at his high school isn't going to diminish LaMelo's talent as a player. The same can't be said for his development as a person. Ladies and gentlemen, I vehemently disagree with Miss Nancy Nancy Armour. First of all, I don't think that anything that LaVar Ball has done warrants comparisons to the Marinovich family. His sons have been in elementary school, junior high school, and high school. Lonzo completed high school. His son is being pulled out of high school to be homeschooled at age 16. He has friends. He's learned some sociable skills. And there's plenty of people who have been home trained. That's number one. Number two, Bryce Harper was home trained. Nobody ever wrote anything about him. Number three, whether it's golf or tennis, you have people who are home trained and go through. We ain't talking about them. And number four, and I'm quite sure, and I'm not accusing her of any malice intent or anything like that. She's just expressing her opinion, and I agree with my man Will Kane when he makes that point about that. But here's the flip side to it. As journalists, we all have an obligation to put things in its proper context and be sensitive to the tenor of things. We all know the narratives that have been put out there about black fathers. We all know what's been perpetuated and disseminated to the masses. We all know, particularly if you're black, what stigmas and stereotypes we have to fight off as fathers. And you think nothing of that when you're writing an article that's headlined, Ball is the worst sports parent? LaVar Ball is obnoxious. LaVar Ball, I don't like the fact that he pulls some of the teams off the court, that he seems to take his ball and runs home when he doesn't get his way. I don't like the fact that he's so loquacious with his comments all the time, and I'm fearful that he's going to be that way towards Luke Walton, Magic Johnson, and the Lakers if things don't go to his son's way, meaning Lonzo Ball, who was the number 2 overall pick in this past NBA draft. LaVar Ball knows this. He knows I feel this way because I've told him to his face. But I would never accuse him of not being a good man, of not taking his children's well-being into consideration. And I certainly wouldn't call him the worst father in the world, in sports or any other genre. Let me tell y'all something about LaVar Ball right now. There are an abundance of human beings in this world that wish they had a father just like him. He ain't perfect. He's hard-headed as hell. He's obnoxious. But he's also smart, fun-loving, and pretty damn decent at his core, despite his mistakes from time to time. this article was off base. I'll leave it at that. Hour number 2 up next.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.
Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show, here with you for the next hour over the airways of ESPN Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 80. Number to call up, as always, is 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Look, let me transition, and we'll continue talking about baseball because I want to talk about these Dodgers. I want to talk about these Yankees. I want to talk about these MLB playoffs. I want to continue that discussion because I want the Yankees and the Dodgers to meet for the World Series, although I suspect, teams may get in the way, and one, if not both of them, won't end up making the World Series. And I'll talk about that as the show progresses. I also want to get your calls on LaVar Ball and what you thought about my comments in terms of him being labeled the worst sports parent. I didn't like that at all. But I also wanted to get into another subject. And I'm not going to lie to you. I sincerely hope that the NBA is listening. Because I want to make sure that I preface my comments by saying this is not about the league office. This is not about the Players Association. This is about the players. And damn it, they need to be called out. I don't give a damn what anybody said. USA Today article, NBA All-Star Game trying new format. Let me read a few of the first graphs to you here. LeBron James and Kevin Durant, despite playing in different conferences, on the same All-Star team. That's a possibility under the new NBA All-Star Game format. Steph Curry and Kyrie Irving playing on the same All-Star team? Sure, why not? In an attempt to revitalize the NBA All-Star Game, for the first time in its history, there will be no Eastern Conference versus Western Conference at the All-Star Game on February 18th in Los Angeles. Instead, 2 captains, the leading fan vote getter from the East and the leading fan vote getter from the West among starters, will select players for their squad regardless of conference affiliation. The captains will select from a pool of 22 other All-Stars. There will still be 12 total All-Stars from each conference. The NBA and the Players Association announced the new format Tuesday. Quote from Chris Paul, "I'm thrilled with what the players in the league have done to improve the All-Star Game, which has been a priority for all of us. We're looking forward to putting on an entertaining show in L.A." Ladies and gentlemen, that's BS. This whole thing is BS. That's right, I said it. Not about the league. I applaud the league for extending themselves and taking steps to modify things. I applaud Michelle Roberts for the National Basketball Players Association for doing the same. I applaud Chris Paul, the president of the NBPA, for doing that as well. What I will not applaud is Chris Paul, a player. LeBron James, a player. Kevin Durant, the player. Carmelo Anthony, the player. Or anybody else. I might give an exception to Russell Westbrook. Maybe. And maybe even LeBron, because I constantly see effort. Here's my issue. The nerve, the unmitigated gall for you to insult the public by trying to make this about rosters. This ain't about rosters. This is about effort. Effort. Who the hell was complaining about the three-point shooting contest? How about you, Kat? What about you, John? Any complaints about three-point shooting contest? Even though we might have complaints about the names of the participants in the slam dunk contest, any questions about their effort? Any issue at all? What about the skills competition? Any issues at all? No. The only issue is the game itself, the All-Star Game, which is nothing, absolutely nothing but a damn layup line. That's it. You can go to a game, any of 82 games during the season, and watch these guys on the layup line dunk, shoot layups, shoot jump shots and three-pointers, and you will see more effort from them in a layup line before the game than you will see from them on Sunday of All-Star Weekend. Tell me I'm lying. Their effort in these games, this is not the league. This is not the Players Association. This is not Adam Silver and his cohorts. This is not Michelle Roberts and her cohorts. I'm talking about the players who will show up at NBA All-Star Weekend and put forth more effort practicing in the summer than they will at an All-Star game. Now, you tell me what sense that makes. You tell me what sense that makes. How the hell does that make any sense? This modification is disgraceful to me. It's insulting. Because we don't care. Do y'all really, really care if LeBron James is playing with Kevin Durant instead of against him for All-Star game? Show of hands, anybody cares? Anybody? If Chris Paul and Kyrie Irving are on the same team, does it even matter to y'all? Does anybody care? Who cares? So the Greek freak may have Kevin Durant as a teammate instead of LeBron James. Oh my God. Let's start the presses. Oh, wow. How touching is that? Who gives a damn? It's not about who's playing with each other. It's about the effort you put forth in competing against one another for All-Star Weekend. Why is it a big deal to see Kevin Durant go up against LeBron James for an All-Star game if all they're going to do is not defend one another and let each other blow by one another to dunk or shoot a wide-open jumper? Who cares? Nobody cares. And the reason why I'm absolving the Players Association and the league from my diatribe right now is because there's nothing that they can do about effort. You show up to All-Star game Sunday night. How could you possibly justify not even trying to play any defense? How? How's that justifiable? One of my favorite moments watching the NBA All-Star game. And I love NBA All-Star Weekend with the exception of the Sunday game. Love it. Absolutely love it. Except the game. Because they give no effort. One of my favorite moments, and remember this, John, remember this. One of my favorite moments, I think it was 2011. The game was winding down. And LeBron James had the ball in his hands. And Kobe got up in him. Let's go. And Kobe was defending him. And everybody wanted to see LeBron against Kobe. And LeBron tried to pass the damn ball into the corner to Carmelo. And Kobe and D. Wade and Melo and everybody got in LeBron James' face. What the hell you doing? It's the All-Star game. Shoot the damn ball. It's not a real game. What are you thinking about? Because the crowd wanted to see LeBron going up against Kobe. And I personally believe that's why LeBron won the title that year. Because he wasn't a champion yet. And he wanted to show, and everybody got on him, and that somehow, some way, he had to stop hiding behind trying to play the right way and had to be that force of nature that he is. And I think that was a defining moment for him. How about when Allen Iverson brought the East back, playing alongside Stephon Marbury when they were going up against the Giants, the KGs of the world and others, with Larry Brown as the coach. I believe it was 2001, and I think it was the nation's capital, and Allen Iverson brought them back, and the East won the All-Star game, and he was the MVP. What was that about? You know what it was? Effort. Effort. We want to see you compete and go against one another. Roster changes don't resolve that. Captains picking their squad don't resolve that. The Players Association and the league office doesn't resolve that. You know what resolves that? the heart ticking inside players' chest. The kind of heart that says, whenever I'm on the court, I'm competing. I believe Russell Westbrook got that in him. Where's everybody else? 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. 866-729-ESPN. I swear, nobody loves the NBA more than me. And there's so many good guys in the league for so many different reasons. But on issues like this, when you're trying to hoodwink me as a player, you make me sick. Get on my damn nerves. Go to break before I cuss somebody out.
Catch the Stephen A. Smith Show live on 98.7 ESPN New York, ESPN LA 710, and Sirius XM Channel 80.
You just can't make this stuff up.
Weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, you know, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
By the way, I'm looking at the TV. ABC Scandal comes on. Scandal comes on tomorrow night. Scandal's back, Olivia Pope, Kerry Washington. I met her a few months ago. I only have one thing to say. Lord have mercy. I'll leave it at that. To the phones we go. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Jermaine, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
How you doing, Stephen A?
I'm good. Talk to me, man. Go ahead.
I want to talk to you about LaVar Ball. I think that he's taking his son out of school because of the possible celebrity influence on his son.
Well, I think he's made that clear. He said that.
Okay.
So ain't nothing to think about. He actually said that. Well, go ahead.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to get your take on that. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Hey, you represent us well, man. I'm proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. He says, he basically said that, being attention, celebrity, and all of that, it's a bit difficult because since that's the case, he's got to deal with that reality. And he didn't want his son subjected to all of that. Plus, he spoke against the school and all that stuff, which I wish he had not done. But that's just me. Let's go to Kurt Lowe. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Kurt? Talk to me, man.
I thought you would be ducking these dodge me today, man. You here today? I'm shocked.
I dodged no one. No one.
You dodged no one, huh?
That's right. No one. Go
So
ahead.
you don't play dodgeball?
No. Go ahead, man.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I want to say a couple things, man, with LaVar Ball.
Yep.
First of all, you know what I'm saying? Nobody ever talks about LaVar Ball, taking care of his sick wife, raising 3 great sons. And buying that, what is it, Gardner that lost his truck the one day, the next day the man took him out to the car dealership and get him a brand new one. They don't talk about that. You know what I'm saying?
In fairness to those critics, though, LaVar Ball doesn't give you much reason to talk about those things because he brings attention to himself for other reasons. It's not like he's just sitting there doing nothing, and when they talk about him, they fail to talk about those things. He makes news with what he's talking about, so that's the news you're talking about, which is why you want to talk about the other things. But go ahead.
Stephen, he's a marketing genius. If you're not smart, I would get around this guy just to learn how to do what he's doing. The guy's charging $500. Everybody's talking about his shoe because they put it at $500 a shoe. Now the shoe ain't no more than $60 at Dillard's. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we don't know whether or not anybody's buying those shoes. When you say marketing genius, what you can give him credit for is that he's made them a nationwide or a household brand. But we don't know how profitable that's been. We just know they're recognizable.
He just made $3 million off. I mean, if you think about it, you charge $500. I think the guy over there, ESPN, Darryl Rover or something like that. He's the one that reported it. They made like $2 or $3 million.
I'll check that because I didn't hear that, Kurt. You might be right, but I didn't hear that.
In about a week,
okay,
they made that.
Okay, because I didn't know that. If that's true, then you have a point because I didn't know that.
Look at everybody talking about that guy, his Lonzo Ball 24/7. You know what I'm saying? I ain't never heard somebody talk about so much about one rookie that can't play no defense. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you're right about that, Curlo, because, I never saw anybody sell out summer school. Summer league. And it's Sunday.
You saw the ass whooping OKC guy yesterday?
Well, that's preseason, bro. That don't mean nothing.
Yeah, we gonna mark the preseason.
Stop your nonsense. You calling me about preseason? You gonna get stripped of your basketball card. You keep doing this. It's the preseason. Stop it.
Man, you should have seen like the Harlem Globetrotters yesterday.
Lord. He had 7 assists, all of them with 3-pointers. I'm so touched. Bye, man. Have a nice day. Curlo's funny. He really, really is with that. Let's go to Mitch. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Mitch? Talk to me.
Hey, what's up, man? First of all, NBA done make a breakout year. But to the NFL, you sounded like Steinbrenner yesterday with Billy Martin trying to get rid of McAdoo. Are you serious?
I'm not sold on him, man. That's all I'm saying. I know he just got him to the playoffs last year with that 11-5 record, even though I think it was their defense that got him there. But I'm just saying I'm just not sold on him, man. I'm just not.
I feel you with that. But, hey, you can't. He's a 500 coach right now, and Reese has got to go. The Giants are damn near at the bottom as far as time of possession. He just needs to give up that clipboard.
Well, listen, the bottom line is you could say that, but the reality is that he seems in panic mode. He doesn't seem to be himself, which is problematic. He doesn't seem to be that stabilizing force that you would need the head coach to be. We just got to win a damn game. You got to reel in Odell Beckham Jr. He seems to be imitating Tom Coughlin in the fact that he lets him, act willy-nilly. That's problematic. The offensive line, the running game, we know there's not much there, but you got to figure out a way to do something about it. And over the last 2 games, he has figured that out, in terms of getting the offense clicking to a better degree. But the problem is that, you know what? It's not enough. And he's got to figure out a way to make it enough, man. He's got to figure that out, Mitch.
Reese. Get rid of Reese. And this is business. You know they're not going to do that. This is the New York Giants.
Well, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it in season. But I think Reese is in a world of trouble and could be going after the season if they don't turn this around.
All right. We'll see.
I think so. Appreciate the call, though. Thank you. Dominic, you're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Dominic?
Stephen A., my brother.
How are you?
I got 2 quick points, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Talk to me.
I got 2 quick points,
yes,
man.
Sir.
First point, I think the NFL and the NBA, they're really different in terms of the cultural differences and everything like that. I think the NFL really needs to really relate more to his players and get more in tune with the culture, into the way that the NBA does. I think the NBA does a much better job of that. And that's the reason why the NBA doesn't have the same amount of problems as the NFL, the same type of problems as the NFL. And secondly, I think you should really listen to me more, man. I've been trying to get at you for a couple of weeks about my Redskins. I've been telling you all along about them, and I've been telling you a few times. You should listen to me because. Well, first of all,
I'm listening to you now. Be happy you're getting these 2 minutes for me to do that. Secondly, did you think the Giants were going 0-4?
I actually did tell you. I called you and told you that the Giants wouldn't be any good this year.
0-4?
Nah, not 0-4.
That's
but I did tell you they wouldn't be any good.
All right. Well, what I'm saying to you is this: if the Giants were 2-2, they're 1 game back of the Redskins. All I'm trying to say to you is that the NFC East beats up on each other. They beat up on each other. Even if you predicted one of them was going to be in last place, the rest of the teams would be 9-7. They'd be 7-9. That's how the NFC works. The NFC East works. So, I'm not giving you a cookie off of that one. And by the way, it's only the first quarter of the season. Redskins defense is no joke. Let's see what they do moving forward. Let's see what they do now that everybody's got their bearings under them, the rust under them, having not played but so much in the preseason. Let's see what happens moving forward, Dominique, and then call me back. I got to bounce. 866-729-ESPN. It's 866-729-3776. Another story I forgot to touch on involved Antonio Brown and Big Ben Roethlisberger. Got to touch on that as well, plus got to get back to the Yankees. Aaron Judge, Gary Sanchez, and the crew doing their thing going up against Cleveland. And whether or not you believe the Yankees and the Dodgers are going to meet in the World Series, and if not, who's going to be the reason why that derails them? Stick around. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio coming your way.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Before I get back to the calls, Let me touch on this Antonio Brown, Big Ben Roethlisberger thing. As y'all know, Big Ben Roethlisberger played a game against the Baltimore Ravens Sunday, a game in which the Steelers won. And on one particular play designed for Antonio Brown, he was absolutely positively wide open to the point that O.J. Howard for the Tampa Bay Bucks was against the New York Giants and his touchdown scamper. That's how wide open Antonio Brown was, and Big Ben Roethlisberger missed him. Didn't even look in his direction. Antonio Brown was disgusted, threw out his arms like I was wide open, then went on the bench and threw over a water cooler. Tried to be calmed down by Todd Haley, the offensive coordinator. Wasn't trying to hear it. All of those things are true. Big Ben Roethlisberger essentially went off. To paraphrase, went on a radio show yesterday and talked about how Antonio Brown just needed to grow up. Said he's Superman on a football field, arguably the best wide receiver in football. He said, but when he acts like this, he's significantly less. Called him out. Elaborating on it further today, Big Ben Roethlisberger says, as a leader on this team, I think it's my job to call folks out. Subsequently, Antonio Brown, particularly after Mike Tomlin got on him as well, apologized on Twitter. Here's my thinking. Antonio Brown was wrong. You can't behave that way, can't engage in those histrionics. He should have apologized. No argument there. Where it becomes a bit more problematic is in this regard. Big Ben Roethlisberger doesn't look like the quarterback that he's looked like in the past. Completed 62% of his passes. He looks like a shell of himself to some degree. Where it gets very, very interesting is that Big Ben Roethlisberger, A, has a history of calling folks out. B, Antonio Brown is a wide receiver. They're all divas. 3, when Antonio Brown got his new $68 million contract, he didn't get it with any help from Big Ben Roethlisberger because Big Ben Roethlisberger never spoke up for him. He left him out there hanging on his own. He didn't speak up for Le'Veon Bell either. Don't think for one second that players forget this kind of stuff. They don't. And when Odell Beckham Jr. wants his money, if Eli Manning doesn't speak up for him, it's going to be a problem. If Sammy Watkins is in a position to get paid and Jared Goff doesn't speak up for him, it's going to be a problem. That's how it works. And guys know this. And the other side to all of this is that everybody talking about the problems that Antonio Brown has. You know, Ryan Clark was in that locker room. And Ryan Clark didn't speak too fondly of Antonio Brown either. And that's fair. The other side to that, however, is that it doesn't negate the fact that Big Ben Roethlisberger doesn't appear to be himself. And by that, I mean somebody who's as interested in playing the game of football as he used to be. I'm not going to cast any aspersions and insult the great Big Ben Roethlisberger. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's a 2-time Super Bowl champion. He's been to 3 Super Bowls. He deserves our respect. All of that's true. But what must not go unnoticed is that Big Ben Roethlisberger, it was a struggle for him to want to play football this year. He's married. He's got a couple of kids now. His life has changed. And because his life has changed so drastically, maybe so has his interest in playing football. And as a result of his interest having waned, is it possible that what could also be going on is that his attentiveness has changed? And what you're seeing are things that you may not have seen before. Is that possible? I don't know the answer to that question. I just know it's a pretty damn good question. Back to the phones we go at 866-729-ESPN. Randy, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
How you doing, Steve? I'm a first-time caller, long-time listener.
Go ahead, man. Thank you.
I just really have a quick suggestion for the All-Star game. If they go with the young guys versus the older guys, like 27 and under versus the 27 and up, maybe that might bring back the competitive spirit. Maybe these vets might not want to get showed up by these rookies and vice versa. That's all I have to
because
say.
that would involve expending too much energy, and you certainly don't want them to do that in the middle of the season either. So I disagree with that. But thank you. AJ, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
How you doing, Stephen? I love your show.
Appreciate it. Go ahead.
I had 2 things to say. The first thing is about the All-Star game. I think the NBA should add a stipulation. I believe the MLB did this, to where either if the East or a west wind, that team that represents those conferences in the final.
Yes, I know where you're going. I disagree with you. You know why?
Why is that?
Because if you are an all-star but you play on a scrub team, you're not going to care much then either, because you ain't going to the finals. So what does home court advantage mean to you? You got to find something that means something to everybody that's playing.
That's true. But, I mean, let's say a large majority of the team, like maybe 10 out of the 12 players, are on a playoff team, which is most of the case every year.
All I'm saying is the example that I just gave you is the reason why that's not the best example. I'm not saying it's not better than what's available, but it's not the best example. We can find something better. I appreciate the call, man. Brian, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Yo, Stephen A. First
ahead.
time, long time.
Yep.
Man, I got two things, man. I went to the OKC Thunder Houston game last night, man. Your boy Melo, he looks good, man. He looks good. I just got one thing.
I know he does, but it's the
bench.
preseason. But go ahead.
They got no bench over there, bro. What you feel about that, man?
Zero.
I couldn't recognize nobody.
Zero. All they got is Raymond Felton and Patrick Patterson. That's it.
Oh, man. Hey, my second thought is, man, I know you're a capitalist. I know this because I listen to you all the time. Hey, man, how do you feel about adding an hour to your show, bro? Giving us more of you. How you feel about that?
Oh, man, you trying to get me to do more work?
Come
I mean,
on,
between
man.
First Take and the NBA and now boxing, that's what you're trying to do to me, man?
Man, dude, it just seems like it fly by so fast, man.
I will say this to you. I will say this to you. New York, L.A., the more support they show me, the more I'll consider it. That much I'll say. Appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Let's go to Darren. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Darren?
Hey, Stephen A. Great to talk to you again.
Thank you. Go ahead.
This is in regards to Michael Bennett. How can the Las Vegas Police Department produce video footage to prove there's no racial profiling on their part, but they don't seem to have any footage or claim none exists on the excessive force issue when they took Bennett down? Clay Travis this morning called him a race-baiting liar, and I'm having trouble with that labeling, especially when there's missing video.
I'm having trouble with that too, and I don't have answers. I don't have an intelligent answer to that question because I simply do not know. All I can tell you is that it's a legitimate question on your part, but I don't know, and I will not pretend. I don't pretend to know answers or conjure up answers that I have no clue about on this show. I don't do that.
Until I see the full footage for the full truth. That's what we need.
Understood. I appreciate the call. Good points. Thank you. Glenn, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, buddy.
How's it going, Stephen A?
I'm all right. Go ahead.
I just wanted to comment on what you were saying about Antonio Brown. Obviously, I think it's childish for him to throw a tantrum on the sideline like that. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's Big Ben's job, like you were saying, to speak up for him. I don't think it's Eli Manning's job to speak up for Odell Beckham when it comes to contract.
Stop right there. I'm not saying it's their job. Absolutely, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that when your success to some degree is predicated on those around you producing for you, it matters. It's not my job to speak up for people, but if I'm working with producers here on the show, if I'm working with Max Kellerman and Molly on Molly Karam on First Take, and they're doing a hell of a job and we're doing well as a show, do I just sit idly by while, the company just plays hardball with them and say it's none of my business and don't get involved? Or do I at least go to the company and say, excuse me, they're very valuable to me. Could you try to take care of them, please? No, I don't have a job. I don't have an obligation to do that, Glenn. But isn't it the right thing to do?
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Get to your points quickly and succinctly. If you don't, I will make you. Michael, now lay you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A. First, I want to say I do not disagree that LaVar Ball loves his children and he's a good father. But his intentions are good, but I disagree with a lot of his methodology.
So do I.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions. And it doesn't mean that he's a good person or he's not a bully and a jerk sometimes to those who don't have influence over him or can benefit him in any way. And I see his children growing up as good young adults, and that's great. But they're going to have this skewed version of what normal is, and normal is not being a bully or not being ultra aggressive and dismissing others when they have a different ideology or a viewpoint.
That's fine. And I don't disagree with anything that you've said. But just because we may not like the way he does things, and just because some people may not like him at all, doesn't mean that he warrants being called the worst dad in the history of sports by USA Today.
I agree with that.
That's the point.
I agree with that. Again, that's a outsider's viewpoint who's just trying to make headlines and sell newspapers or get subscriptions.
All right. I don't know about that. I think people, Nancy Amore and others, genuinely feel this way about him, and they're entitled. But I respectfully disagree. I thought it was excessive. Appreciate the call. Eddie, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, today.
Go ahead, man.
I had a question for you. Big Yankee fan. I was wondering, what's the X factor going to be in the Indian series? What are you going to be looking out for to step up?
Well, I'm going to be looking for what I got last night. I'm going to be looking for those young bats to answer the call, and I'm going to be looking for that bullpen to step up and handle business the way that they did. That's what I'm going to be looking for, because I think that's their only shot. They can't have any slippage. It has to be a collective effort. You can't get one without the other. You can't get good pitching but no bats. You can't get bats but no good pitching. Against Cleveland, you need it all. That's the only way you're going to have a chance. Jonathan, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Stephen A., I have 2 points. One, Big Ben is checked out since last year, so he's probably going to retire at the end of the year. Two, as far as the NBA All-Star Game, I figured have the players have a little skin in the game, and why don't they put up a game check for the game, and winner takes the cash.
Well, I mean, the problem with it is that in this day and age, when you got dudes making 9 figures, even that doesn't work. You know, did your favorite cause, your favorite charity with folks like that in attendance might matter. I guess something like that along those lines. But all I'm asking for is effort while you're playing the damn game. If you can go in the summer league and train and defend against one another and compete, why the hell are you not doing it in an all-star game? That's my issue. Appreciate the call. Blue, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A., salute from one strong black man to another, man. I appreciate what you do.
I appreciate it. Go ahead, man.
Hey, thank you, man. Hey, man, I got to talk about my long-suffering Cowboys for a minute, man. I know you don't want to hear it, but I got to talk about it anyway. And there's enough blame to go around all over. But the real blame should go on Scott Linehan. That dude is too busy, breaking Jimmy Johnson's number one rule, playing with scared money, scared to run the ball, and two, throwing Dak out there. Like for instance, in the Denver game, you come out with an empty backfield, and you got the lead in Russia. You come out with an empty backfield, and you got a second-year quarterback. You throwing the ball 3 times in a row at a second-year quarterback. He didn't establish anything to get those guys comfortable, and that was the problem. The same thing happened when Romo was there. We shouldn't even be talking about a catch that Dez did against Green Bay because it was short yardage with the league needing to rush. We should have been running the ball. We shouldn't talk about him getting cute on the goal line, throwing the ball 3 times.
Okay, I need you to call back another day about the Cowboys because I don't want to talk about them anymore. What's your point about LaVar Ball?
My point about LaVar Ball is that I think he's a great dad, and it's funny that those people would want to call him the worst dad in sports when so many of our players are raised by single parents, especially the mother. So all these dads that ain't even been there for their kids, but there's one black man that is. He's the worst in sports? No, I don't think so. I'm glad he's doing what he's doing. I have no problem with him whatsoever.
All right. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate the call. John in Manhattan, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, John.
Hi, Steve. I like your prediction for the World Series, but I think it's going to be Washington instead of L.A. against the Yankees.
I don't think so. I'm not a believer in Washington. Not a believer.
Well, Strasburg and Scherzer, they're pretty good pitchers.
You know, Scherzer hasn't been, listen, as great as he is, he hasn't been his consistent self this year. Don't get me started on Strasburg. He might hurt his fingernail or pinky in a week or so. I'm not sold on that.
But in a short series, you never can tell.
That's true, and I definitely root for my man Dusty Baker. Got nothing but love for him. You know that. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Right. I appreciate the call, man. Keon, Brooklyn, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, how you doing, Stephen A.? First time caller, long time listener. I just wanted to ask a question in regards to Antonio Brown and his recent events this past Sunday. Being that him and Odell Beckham Jr. sort of kind of have like the same, reactions when it comes to certain, or same emotions rather, when it comes to certain events that takes place during these games. What would it take for them to kind of just ditch that prima donna mentality and just focus in on the game and focusing on, what they have to do.
I don't know. It all depends. That's not a fair question. We're all individuals. We all got our own DNAs. You know what I'm saying? I think that the way to reel Odell in is to mess with his money, to make sure you remind him there's a lot of money at stake, and you could be blowing it with your antics. I think that's the way to do it. And not only that, he didn't act up last weekend. Let's be fair to Odell Beckham Jr. No histrionics, no anything. He just played ball last weekend. He just played ball. After talking to Mara, the owner, he just played ball. He didn't do anything wrong. They just didn't win. All right? Appreciate the call. Mateo, Cali, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, go.
Hey, what's going on, Stephen A?
You only got a minute. Go ahead, buddy.
All-Star game. How about maybe if they put up like a pot to incentivize, like maybe if they score as many points or hold the other team to a limited amount of points, they can collect a pot at the end of the game.
I don't know
effort.
about that. I got to think about that. I'm not sure I like that one too much. I mean, if you hold a team to X amount of points, I just think people don't, all of that ain't required. We're just looking for folks to literally go out there and compete. That's it. That's all you're asking for. Go out there and compete. That's it. It's not that complicated. That's all you have to remember. Go out there and defend one another. Play basketball the way you would play basketball during the regular season. Listen, they don't go as hard at each other in the first quarter as they do in the fourth quarter. But we see effort, and we see you actually playing the game. Make sure you do that. Make sure you do that. That's all I'm asking. That's all that's required. It's really not that complicated. Got to get on out of here. I'll be back in 22 hours from now. Got a lot more NFL stuff to get into tomorrow before the Patriots play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then some. Stick around. Stephen A. tomorrow, 22 hours from now. Peace and love.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.